Welcome back, everybody. Take a break with Stephen Shamus.
Good to see you, my friend. How's it going?
It's going great. Great. It's beautiful in New York today. It's been hot, but it's a good day. It's a good day.
What do you got on your shirt? You got Iron Spider on your shirt?
It's that's my Transformers Jurassic Park throwback.
Transformers Jurassic Park like mashup?
Yeah. Remember when Chris Pratt is with all the dinosaurs is like, whoa, it's that with the Dinobots.
Oh, okay. Got it. Oh, very cool.
It's an old shirt. That movie's pretty old.
Cool. All right, Alex, what do we got for today?
Yeah, we're gonna talk about some fun stuff. As always. First things first, let's talk a little Red Sonja.
I don't want to kill you.
Try it. Come on.
Well, some new movie news with her. We're gonna talk Dylan Brock, who is somebody new that I think the world's going to love, and we're gonna talk about Amazing Spider-Man 667.
Yeah, there's a lot of news on all this stuff. Again, the market just seems to be consistent. You know, unlike the sports card market, Alex, it went like this and then pulled back. Yeah. Now it's still like this versus this. Mm-hmm. The comic book market is like this.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, they're breaking records, but sort of like incrementally breaking
things
records.
Things are selling out and they're finding something else to sell higher.
Right. Yeah. So it's pretty interesting what's going on. All right, Alex, what do we got first?
Let's talk a little Red Sonja.
Yeah, so we've noticed the creeping up on pricing on Red Sonja. Mm-hmm. Obviously, there's some media news on that. Yeah. And you know, it's funny. Like it feels like a lot of these books. You know, we were talking about when I was growing up or when you're growing up, and it's funny. Like when I was growing up, you know, that book was 15 or 20 years old, and now the book is 47, 48 years old. It's kind of weird, right? It's like, you know, I talked to my friends about the baseball cards, and it's like, you know, when I was growing up, cards from the 1950s and 60s were 30 years old, not that old.
Yeah.
But now they're like 50, 60 years old. And then it's really, really vintage, right? Yeah. So, and I think you're starting to see that with the comic books as well. So give us a little background on Red Sonja and why you're starting to see these prices sort of creep higher.
Yeah, Red Sonja was a character. It's a weird history because technically Robert E. Howard created the character, but not as we know her in the comic books. That was Roy Thomas, Gil Kane, Barry Windsor Smith. They mishmashed a Robert E. Howard character from Conan, from the Conan series. This was for the Conan Marvel comic books. They smashed this character together and kind of brought her to the Conan era so they could interact in the comic book series. So although it is technically a Robert E. Howard, it's more of a Roy Thomas character that's been in the Conan comics. She had her own series. She's been going on long series run at Dynamite right now. Gail Simone had a big chunk with her. And now that the movie's moving forward, you know, people are looking to pick up these books. I mean, the first appearance of Red Sonja in the Conan books, they were always good books. Like those were easily sold books. But now they're, you know, high grades are impossible.
I know it's crazy. It's crazy, right? Yeah. So, and again, it's hard for me to imagine because I remember this stuff growing up. It didn't seem vintage or old, but you know, now I am vintage and old, and so are the books that I was reading growing up. That's a good way to say it.
I'm not old, I'm vintage.
Right. So Conan the Barbarian, number 23, February of 1973, right? It's a 48-year-old book now. It's crazy. 35 blue label 9/8, 1 gold label 9/8. Conan was a popular title back in the day. There's 116 9/6 blue label and 8 9/6 gold label. There's actually not a high pop, but you can get these books in reasonably high grade. Yeah. That's the first appearance of Red Sonja. It is adapted from the Robert E. Howard story, but it is written by Roy Thomas, as you said. Mm-hmm. It's also got the Barry Windsor Smith art, which is when he was at his peak. Barry Windsor style, his style and that character sort of go hand in hand.
Definitely.
You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where, you know, whether it's Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man, Jim Lee's X-Men, Rob Liefeld's X-Force, you so closely associate when you think of Conan the Barbarian, you think of you think of Barry Windsor Smith.
Yeah, and I wonder if his new graphic novel that just came out has a little bit to do with this. People are remembering how much they like Barry Windsor Smith because he hasn't been in the comic scene in almost a decade, if not longer. So, now with him being back in it, maybe people are picking back up. There's the old stuff that they like.
To me, the test is, does the art stand up over time? Recently Heritage had some artwork, even some of the Lobo artwork that my brother had. And, you look at the Simon Bisley Lobo stuff, and, it's 30 years old already.
Yeah.
It's 30 years old, Alex.
Yeah.
And it holds up. If you published those Simon Bisley Lobo covers today, they would not look dated.
No,
they would not look dated
Bisley
at all.
Stuff.
Right. It's funny what holds up over time. I don't want to insult any other artists out there because there's stuff that I look at.
Styles change. I mean, we talked about John Romita Jr. It's not that his style got bad or better. It completely changed from his Daredevil run to his current stuff.
Yeah, it is interesting to me what looks dated when I look at it and what kind of like looks timeless. And the Barry Windsor stuff is timeless.
Yes.
Then Conan Barbarian number 24 of March of 1973, 85 blue label, 3 gold label 9.8s, 199 blue label, 7 gold label 9.6s. That's about a $5,000 book. Okay. So, by the way, I think I didn't mention the 23 and 9/8 are about 3,500.
Right.
The 24s are 5,000 because it's the first full appearance of Red Sonja. It is the last Barry Windsor Smith issue, and he did the cover and art as well on that one. Then you have to go to 1975, a couple of years later, 2.5 years later, Marvel feature number 1, November 1975. There's 85 blue label 9.8s, 4 gold label 9.8s. This might be a real steal, Alex, $650 in 9.8.
Yeah.
It's the first, Marvel feature number 1. She is dab smack on the cover.
Yep.
It's a gorgeous Gil Kane and John Romita cover. It's the first book devoted to Red Sonja. Again, Roy Thomas story. I love this cover. I love that book. I love the price of that book.
Yep.
Then you had her first series, Red Sonja number 1, January 1977. There are 247 blue label 9.8s, 7 gold label 9.8s. That's about a $600 book. I also love that book, and I also love that price. Again, based on Robert E. Howard, and then it's another Roy Thomas story. It's a pretty nice cover. Then when you start to get into the 1983 series, I will say that those series do look a little dated. One has a John Buscema cover. One has a Walt Simonson cover. Walt's work is great. He's most known for his Thor run, Beta Ray Bill. Red Sonja Volume 2, number 1, 1983. 71 blue label 9.8s, 4 gold label 9.8s. That's about a $200 book. And then Red Sonja Volume 3, number 1, came out the same year. August of 1983, 36 blue label 9.8s, 3 gold label 9.8s. That's about a $175 book. There are very rare Canadian price variants that exist on both of those books. Again, not as collectible. I don't think it's as crucial to the storyline. But as we've seen with all the TV and movie stuff coming out, Alex, is the second you tie it into something, Lady Loki, right? Boom, that's it. It's off to the races. So who knows where these storylines go, and then all of a sudden the price of whatever issue number all of a sudden goes through the roof.
Yep, that's right.
All right, cool. What do we got next, Alex?
It's a big one. Is everybody sitting down? The new Venom, Dylan Brock.
Yeah, I mean, Marvel already announced that it's the new Venom, right? I mean, so
Venom 200 that's it. That's the book.
So we don't know what it's going to bring in terms of the film or the TV or whatever franchise we got going on there. So this book has absolutely exploded in value. There's a lot of juicy variants on this, and some of them are really, really hard to find, Alex. Like really, really hard to find. So what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to take you through part 1. We're going to do Alex's pick of the week, and then we'll finish with part 2 on Dylan Brock.
Yeah, there's a good amount.
So Dylan Brock, appeared first in December of 2018. So it's a relatively new character, which we're seeing. It's funny. Marvel had a long run of not developing new characters, where like Venom was a new character, and then like 20-something years later, they really hadn't developed anything new. And now it's like, or the God Butcher, and this one and that and everything else. So talk a little bit, before we talk about Venom number 7, talk a little bit about Dylan Brock, who he is, why he's significant, and why people are going crazy. Do they think he's going to be here in the movie? Like, what do they think is going to happen there?
Well, Dylan Brock is the son of Eddie Brock, obviously. And the weird part is when Eddie Brock's girlfriend was dying, he gave her the Venom symbiote to make her, to heal her. Because they were kind of conjoined, the symbiote impregnated the girlfriend and she had Dylan. So not your traditional baby making, but through the symbiotes, that's how Dylan came about. Dylan was hidden from Eddie for a bunch of years. He didn't know he existed, and as of a couple weeks ago, Venom 200, the symbiote goes to Dylan, and Eddie, who is now the god of symbiotes, says, "You're Venom now," and he's okay with it, and he's going to be his watcher, if you will, and kind of lead him down this road of being a good guy. So crazy in the fact that it is the next Venom stuff. And why wouldn't they? I mean, we all saw with Into Spider-Verse, Miles Morales taking off. If in the Venom movie, at the end of the movie, Dylan Brock is born, and Venom 3 might have a young Venom. I mean, why wouldn't we see that? Like, anything's up in the air. So
yeah, I think Venom 2, you're going to start to hope. Well, you know, you see Carnage, but do you see Scream?
Yeah,
I think they introduced
Venom,
Anarchy.
everybody. Yeah,
Anarchy, I think, is a new one. Right, they got a whole slew of them. Right,
so
okay.
much.
So Venom number 7 is the Ryan Stegman cover. Ryan Stegman's run is unbelievable.
Yeah,
on this book, December of 2018. 634 blue label 9.8s, 90 gold label 9.8s. It's only about $165 book. It's a cameo. It's also Venom number 7 is also a legacy Venom number 172.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it's the Donny Cates story. Abonsoello art. I love Abonsoello. I own a few of his pieces. He's a good up and coming artist. It's got a so that's the basic edition. Then there's the Sujin Joe Marvel Battle Lines variant edition, 131 blue label 9.8s, 14 gold label 9.8s. That's about an $85 book. Then you have the Frank Cho Marvel Knights, the 20th anniversary, which they dubbed MKXX variant cover, 37 blue label 9.8s, 14 gold label 9.8s. That's about $130 book. Then you have the Frank Cho Virgin Marvel Knights book, 1 in 200. There's 54 blue label 9.8s, 28 gold label 9.8s. That's about a $250 book. And as we'll talk about later, there has been a massive resurgence on these ultra limited Marvel books. Yeah. I think people are starting to realize how rare they are.
Right.
And I will tell you, Midtown Comics is probably one of the few retailers that actually had all these books at 100%. The time.
Yeah.
I don't know if they still have them or if they've blown them out or whatever, but they're definitely, coming on strong. Yeah. There's been a resurgence. Then there's the Ryan Stegman Tongue Out secret variant cover, where same cover, tongue is out, 316 blue label 9.8s, 129 gold label 9.8s. That's about a $200 book. What they do? They just randomly inserted those books.
That's it. I think it was about a 1 in 10, 1 in 20.
1 in 10.
Nobody knew until you got your book. So if you ordered 10 copies, you probably got one. If you ordered a case, you had to find them. So they were secret. They've been doing these secret drops a couple times.
Right. The one that I love is the Ryan Stegman New York Comic Con 2018 Diamond Previews Edition, limited to 3,000 copies. There are 68 blue label 9.8s, 28 gold label 9.8s. That's only about $150 book. And here's where you get to the good ones. This guy's books are on fire.
The craziest. Yeah.
On fire. All of them. He does these really, really great variants.
He doesn't need to do professional work again. I think his website's got him covered.
It's really crazy, right? I mean, it's just Frankie's Comics is crushing it.
Yeah.
So the Clayton Crane Frankie's Comics edition, 167 blue label 9.8s, 173 gold label 9.8s. That's about a $450 books. Clayton is very famous for using multicolored markers when he signs his name. They charge a little bit extra for it. It really looks beautiful, like a rainbow.
Really good. Yeah.
And then he does these really beautiful remarks, head sketches on the books too. So those are always nice pickups. Then there's the Frankie's Comics Virgin Edition, 137 blue label Alex, 171 gold label 9.8s. Those are $1,000 blue labels. $1,000 blue labels. That's the book that everybody wants. That's the key one. Then the Miko Cyan. I love Miko's work. I own a few pieces of his work. Unknown Comics variant, 34 Blue Label 9.8s, 4 Gold Label 9.8s. That's about $100 book. Then there's the Miko Virgin book, 27 Blue Label 9.8s, 13 Gold Label 9.8s. That's about $150. In 9.6, you can't even find those books in 9.8. There's only 27 pop. It's about a $60 raw book. So a 9.8 would probably be the $400 to $500 range if they came up for sale. And then there's a sketch cover. Can't find those either. 14 Blue Label 9.8s, 8 Gold Label 9.8s. That's about $100 raw book. So the sketch and the Virgin Miko books are very, very difficult to find from Unknown Comics.
Yeah, good guys. Those Unknown people.
Yeah. Where's Unknown?
I believe they're Texas. They've just opened their first shop. They've been doing just conventions and exclusive covers for a while.
Exclusives for a long time. Right? Yeah. And then KRS also. Mike Choi, love Mike Choi's work. The KRS Comics edition, 15 Blue Label 9.8s, 7 Gold Label 9.8s. That's about $150 book. And then you have the Mike Choi KRS Virgin edition, 27 Blue Label 9.8s, 9 Gold Label 9.8s. That's about a $230 book. And then lastly is the Ryan Stegman second print cover. Can't find the book. 26 Blue Label 9.8s, 2 Gold Label 9.8s. That's $125 raw book. You can't find it at all. Like, you can't find that book. All right, that concludes part 1 of Venom. We're going to go to Alex's pick of the week. What do you got, Alex?
Trading cards. We all know they're hot. We've talked about this, and even the Marvel cards and DC cards that were literally thrown away for years because there were so many in the wild. One of the things that I've noticed lately, and I don't know if you are aware of them, but in Mexico, Pepsi was doing cards in the 90s, mid to late 90s. You would go to a grocery store and you buy a 6-pack of Pepsi and you get a pack of cards. But in 94 they had Marvel cards, and they were on the Marvel card train. And to get a set of these cards, which isn't many, you're looking about $200, $300. These cards were only made in Mexico. They're Marvel licensed. They're beautiful cards. I mean, and again, they're in Spanish, so doesn't say Spider-Man on it. It says Arana, Arachnid. But these things are really rare. And looking them up, just a single card's $11, a pack's $20, and sets are $300. I mean, there's even displays. The original Pepsi displays and those are $400, $500. But it's not just when you think of trading cards, everybody thinks of the Tops, the Ultra Pros, and Upper Decks and stuff like that. But there's stuff from all over the world. These are licensed cards. I mean, you're not finding them here. Maybe you're Texas.
Yeah, they made them for both Marvel and DC. I actually have a box from a while ago of both, and they're boxes are very, very expensive on both of those. Even I got an interest. Superman was my favorite character growing up. The Christopher Reeve Superman is really sort of very iconic in my mind. That was sort of the Superman that was sort of my first exposure to superheroes was Christopher Reeve as Superman. Those movies were really larger than life. Very sad, tragic ending to Christopher and his life, but he was really extraordinary as that character, really embodied the character. So I went out there, and there's an Australian Superman.
Oh wow.
There's a Mexican Superman trading from Tops, right? So I've got like full sets on the Australian one. I have like most of a set on the Mexican ones. They're really, really hard to find.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be in Mexico, and again, maybe you're a Texas border person and you went over there and picked them up, or I know a couple guys, but there were Star Wars ones. There's Episode 1 Star Wars ones, which I wish I could buy, but they are out of my price range for sure. Maybe if I do another Texas convention, I can probably find some.
You can get singles in slightly off condition for a decent price.
Yeah, no, I just want to set. Yeah. You just have to hunt them down. Yeah,
you got to hunt them down. Yeah. All right, cool. All right, Alex. So we're going to continue with now part 2 of Venom, right? We're going to pick up where we left off. Now you have Venom 9.
Yep.
That's the first full appearance.
Yes.
Again, Donnie Cates with Ryan Stegman art. Venom number 9, February of 2019. 926 Blue Label 9.8s, 166 Gold Label 9.8s. That's a $350 book right now. It's on fire. It could be more. Who knows? Then a great cover. I love these animation covers. So So when we did the Shamik Moore signing, we got a lot of the animation covers.
Yeah.
I think these are hidden gems. You know, if there's ever a signing with like a Haley Steinfeld, people will want to get the Spider-Gwen animation. There's 2 of them. There's one on Spectacular Spider-Man, and then there's another one. So on Spider-Gwen, these animation covers are great. These animation covers are on fire. It's a 1 in 10. There's 210 Blue Label 9.8s. Wow, there's 30 Gold Label 9.8s. That's an $1,100 book.
Good gravy.
It's a great cover. It looks like Spider-Man Noir on the cover,
it is.
By the way.
Spider-Man Noir.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Then there's the Bilson Cabbage Fantastic Four Villains Variant Edition. Funny enough, the artwork is great. It's Bilson Cabbage, but because it doesn't have the Venom character on the cover, nobody really is going for it. So it's 58 Blue Label 9.8s, 4 Gold Label 9.8s. That's about $125 book. Again, because it's got the villains on the front, it's not the version that people want. Then you have the Philip Tan Unknown Comics again. I love Philip Tan. I own one of his Shang-Chi pieces. Great work. I love Philip's work on Shang-Chi.
Yeah.
He's done a great job. They just released his Moon Knight cover. He's done a great job on that. I love Philip's line work. Very detailed line work for Philip. The Philip Tan Unknown Comics Edition, 125 Blue Label 9.8s, 76 Gold Label 9.8s. That's about a $200 book. And then the Virgin edition of that are 82 Blue Label 9.8s, 52 Gold Label 9.8s. That's about a $250 book.
That's not bad for the Virgin.
Yeah. And then last but not least is
our favorite.
The second printing Ryan Stegman cover. It's a new cover. It's from the Interior Art. There's 81 Blue Label 9.8s. There's 8 Gold Label 9.8s. It's a soldier with a dog. Venom is not on the cover. It's still selling for $400 in a 9.8.
Yeah.
Again, aesthetically, I don't know that it's the best cover. I don't know that I'd be selling $400. I think I'd go with the regular edition before that, or one of the Philip Tan books. But yeah, it's a soldier with a dog on the cover. So I don't really know that's the cover that everybody wants. All right, Alex, what are we finishing up with here today?
One of the most random Spider-Man books, Amazing Spider-Man 667.
Yeah. So what's happening, Alex, is people are starting to turn back the clock a little bit. And starting, if you remember, about 10 plus years ago, Marvel and DC got back on the variant train. And at first, everyone's like, oh, this is what crashed the market. Yeah. This is what killed the market. All the people that like the kvetch, they were kvetching.
Yes.
Right? You know what that means, right? This is a Yiddish word.
Yes.
Okay.
They like use it quite often.
You know what's funny is the Yiddish words are so like, even if you've never heard Yiddish in your life, they sound like what they should be.
Yeah.
Because when you say someone's kvetching, you're like, I could guess what that means.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So everyone was kvetching that, this is what killed the market. This is what this and that. And I think there was some backlash there, especially when you started to get into the 1 in 150s, 1 in 200s, because comic stores weren't ordering those quantities on these books anymore. Yeah. You know, this was not the 1990s when every store was ordering 1,000 copies of Amazing Spider-Man. So, in any case, this is one of the earliest books. Yep. It was a very high ratio. And for whatever reason, it's a book that sort of captured the imagination. And that happens sometimes, whether it's the artwork of Gabriel Delgado. I compare it to the Jock Detective Comics 880 cover.
Yeah, those are great.
Or even the Spider-Man web cover from Patrick Gleason.
The Gleasons,
Like sometimes a cover
everything hits.
Hits, right? Yeah. It just sort of captures the imagination. This is just one of those covers by Gabriel Delgado.
Yeah.
So Amazing Spider-Man number 667, pretty uneventful. Nothing.
Spider Island number 1, like I said, it's when I say it's like Amazing Spider-Man runs Amazing Spider-Man run, but there's nothing. It's not a first appearance. Humberto Ramos's art begins for a while. Him and Dan Slott did a lot of books together, but it's nothing big in the book.
Right. And even the regular edition isn't necessarily expensive. The artwork isn't necessarily like whatever. So it's just one of those things. So there, Amazing Spider-Man 667, the Gabriel Delgado cover came out in October of 2011. It was a 1 in 200. There are 20 Blue Label 9.8s, 2 Gold Label 9.8s, 20 Gold Label, Blue Label 9.6s, 2 Gold Label 9.6s. And there are 9 Blue Label and 0 Gold Label 9.4s. The entire pop in every condition of every version that's been graded by CGC are 55 blue labels and 5 gold labels. It's believed that there's less than 200 copies printed based on the print run. The last 9.8 just sold for 33,600. A 9.6 sold for about 10 grand a few months ago. So this book is not going anywhere.
No.
And if you're one of the 20 people that have it, you're probably not selling it either.
Unless your kid needs another semester of college, then you're selling.
Exactly. Now there's a Mexican edition of Amazing Spider-Man number 7. Some clever person decided to put that on the cover, the Delato. Came out in 2016. There's 8 blue label 9.8s, 2 gold label 9.8s. That book sells, the last 9.8 sold for $2,200, and it sells for $400 raw. And it was published by Editorial Televisa. And then there's an Italian edition of the same book that sells for about $110 raw. So keep your eyes peeled. Again, the shows are opening. I don't know that you're going to find one of those in a dollar box. But
I think this means we need to do a buying trip to Mexico. We're gonna get some cards.
Yeah, funny,
we
right?
gotta get some Delato comics.
We talked about Mexico a lot today. You're right.
Yeah,
you're right. Okay, cool. All right, Alex, I think that does it for today. If anybody has any questions or comments, please put them in the fields. We'd love to hear from everybody. And we will see everybody next week. Same bad time.
Same bad channel. Thanks, guys.